The hallway was empty except for her. Maya stood beneath a single flickering fluorescent tube, the kind that never quite decided whether to stay on or give up. Her work shoes, black, non-slip, 4 years old, made no sound on the linoleum. In her hands was a sealed envelope, edges soft from being handled too many times. The door at the end of the corridor was closed. Through the narrow window set into it, a faint light moved. Someone was in there. Someone who had not expected her to find what she found. She didn't move. Her breath came slow and shallow, the way it did when she was trying not to let her body betray her. The envelope pressed against her palms. Whatever was inside had already changed things. She just didn't know yet how many things, or how far the change would reach. From somewhere deep in the building came the distant squeak of a mop bucket wheel, Darnell making his last rounds. The smell of industrial cleaner drifted through the corridor. It was the smell of every ordinary evening she had ever spent in this building. Nothing about this evening was ordinary. At the far end of the hall, a shadow shifted behind the door's narrow glass. Maya took one step forward, but that wasn't how any of this was supposed to go. Before we get back to the story, we want to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. And if you're new here, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a story like this one. Because 6 days before Maya stood in that hallway, with that envelope and that door, and that slow, cold understanding settling into her chest, 6 days before all of it, none of this had anything to do with envelopes, or closed doors, or shadows moving where they shouldn't be. 6 days earlier, it had everything to do with a little girl in a lavender dress, standing at the entrance of a school cafeteria with a lunchbox shaped like a frog, looking at a room full of people and not knowing where she was allowed to belong. And Maya, who had learned a long time ago not to wait for someone else to do the right thing, had stepped out from behind her counter, picked up a small bowl of apple slices from the kitchen, and walked across the cafeteria floor. ___, quote _, 0 ___, she had said. The girl looked up. Her eyes were large and dark and careful, the eyes of a child who had already learned that kindness sometimes came with conditions. Quote 1, she said quietly. 2 words, 1 small bowl of apple slices. A Tuesday that felt like every other Tuesday Maya Chen had lived for the past 6 years, except that it wasn't. Because that little girl was named Zoe, and Zoe had a father who was quietly falling apart in all the ways that don't make noise. And somewhere between a frog lunchbox and a farmer's market, and a kitchen full of dish soap and silence, 4 separate lives were about to find the shape they had always been missing. The fun is just beginning. Tell us what city you're from in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The tension is rising. Who's watching from where? Like and subscribe to the channel. More to come. Tell us in the comments who's from which country, and give us a like and subscribe. The plot thickens. Let's check our geography. Tell us where you are now, give the video a thumbs up, and subscribe. We're just warming up. Tell us where you're watching from. Give the video a like and hit the subscribe button. The climax is near. Share where you're from, like, and be sure to subscribe. Events are unfolding rapidly. Write your city in the chat, give it a like, and subscribe so you don't get lost. The juiciest part is yet to come. Let's get started. Get to know each other. Where are you from? Like and subscribe right now. The suspense is building. Tell us where you're watching this episode from and reward us with a like and a subscribe. The excitement is running high. Tell us what city you're from now. Give us a big like and subscribe to the channel. But let's start from the beginning. 6 days earlier, it was a Tuesday. It looked like every other Tuesday. Maya Chen was up at 5:15. The apartment was dark and quiet, the kind of quiet that only exists before a 7-year-old wakes up. She moved through the kitchen in socked feet, filling the pot by feel, measuring coffee the way she measured most things in her life, by what was enough, not by what she wanted. The apartment smelled like lavender dish soap and sleep. One window faced east, and the early light came through the curtains Maya had sewn herself from fabric she'd found at the thrift store on Clement Street. Pale yellow cotton with small white dots, slightly uneven at the hem where she'd run out of patience on a Sunday night. On the windowsill, a spider plant trailed its thin green arms toward the glass. "Good morning, Gerald," Maya said quietly. She said it every morning. She wasn't sure when that had started. She ate her toast standing over the sink. Cold coffee, half a slice, the news playing low on her phone with its cracked screen. A hairline fracture across the top right corner she kept meaning to fix. The jar on the refrigerator held $40 now. She'd managed 2 weeks in a row. The label, written in Lily's handwriting after Maya had spelled it out, letter by letter, read, "Lily's future." "Mama." The small voice came from the hallway. Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway in her dinosaur pajamas, hair matted on one side, dragging her blanket. "Is it a school day?" "It is," Maya said. Lily considered this with great seriousness. "Okay," she said finally, as if granting permission for the day to proceed. Maya smiled into her coffee cup. 20 minutes later, Lily was at the table, working through a bowl of oatmeal with brown sugar, narrating her spoon's journey across the bowl in a low, continuous murmur. Maya braided her hair in 2 quick plaits, fingers moving from memory, bobby pins held between her lips. Lily giggled. The sound filled the small kitchen like something warm. They took the 7:10 bus, then the crosstown, Lily's backpack between her feet, a library book open on her lap. She was working her way through every book about frogs the school library owned, in no particular order and with total commitment. Maya watched the city move past the window. The right toe of her work shoe was scuffed again. She'd buffed it twice this week. The cafeteria smelled the same way it had smelled for 6 years. Industrial cleaner underneath, warm bread on top, and somewhere beneath both, the ghost of 1,000 lunches. Maya tied her apron, checked the morning prep list, and started on the fruit trays. Her colleague Rosa slid in beside her, pulling on a glove. Maya said. Maya handed her a tray. The fluorescent lights flickered once, settled. The cafeteria filled slowly with the sound of small feet and louder voices. Thursday was still 2 days away. She didn't know yet what Thursday would bring. Thursday arrived the way library day always did, with Lily awake before the alarm, already dressed, already holding her frog book at the breakfast table like a small professional. "I'm ready," she announced. "You haven't eaten yet," Maya said. "I can eat fast." She could not eat fast. She never could. But she tried, and the oatmeal disappeared in determined spoonfuls while Maya packed her own bag. And outside the window, Gerald caught the early light and threw thin shadows across the yellow curtains. The cafeteria was loud by 11:30. Trays clattering, chairs scraping, the particular wall of sound that 40 children in one room creates when none of them are trying to be quiet. Maya moved behind the serving counter with the ease of 6 years of practice. Ladle, plate, smile, next. Her non-slip shoes finding every wet patch on the floor before it found her. That was when the cafeteria door opened. A little girl stepped in alone. She was small, dark-skinned, wearing a lavender dress that was a size too big, the shoulders sitting just slightly off, the hem brushing her shins. White sneakers with Velcro straps, a lunchbox shaped like a frog held in both hands against her chest. She stood at the entrance and looked at the room. The noise didn't stop for her. Nobody turned. The rows of tables stretched out full and loud, and she stood at the edge of all of it, perfectly still, reading it the way you read something written in a language you almost know. Maya watched from behind the counter. The girl moved finally, walking to the nearest table with an empty patch of bench. She stopped beside a group of kids who were deep in an argument about something involving a cartoon character. She waited. Then, quietly, quote underscore 16 underscore underscore. Nobody answered. One kid glanced up and looked away. Another shifted slightly, not quite moving over, not quite making room. 3 seconds. Maya counted them. The girl turned. She found the far corner of a long bench where no one was sitting, and she sat down. She set her frog lunchbox on the table, unzipped it carefully, and took out a turkey sandwich on wheat bread, cut into triangles, a small bag of crackers, a juice box. She lined them up in a neat row, as though arrangement was something she could control. She ate slowly. She looked at the table while she chewed. Maya set down her ladle. She went to the back, picked up a small bowl of apple slices she'd prepped that morning, left over from a tray that was already full, and walked out from behind the counter. Across the cafeteria floor, past the loud tables and the spilled milk and the argument about cartoons. She stopped across from the girl and held out the bowl. "Mind if I sit with you?" Maya asked. The girl looked up. Her eyes were large and dark and careful, the eyes of a child measuring something. "Okay," she said. Maya sat down. The cafeteria roared on around them, indifferent. Between them, a bowl of apple slices, a frog lunchbox, and a silence that felt, somehow, like the beginning of something. The girl's name, Maya would learn, was Zoe. She was 6 years old, and she came back the next day. And the day after that. Zoe came back Friday. She came back Monday. By Wednesday, she was sitting in the same corner of the same bench before Maya even came out from behind the counter, her frog lunchbox already open, her juice box already unwrapped, like she had decided this was her place now and wasn't asking permission anymore. Maya noticed things slowly, the way you notice weather changing. Zoe's clothes were always clean, always pressed. On Monday, it was a striped shirt with neat collar points. On Tuesday, a dark green dress with buttons down the front, every one of them fastened. The kind of care that doesn't happen by accident, the kind that takes time and intention, and someone at home who pays attention. But Zoe never mentioned a mother. She talked about her father the way other kids talked about both parents combined. He made her lunch, he picked her up, he let her stay up late on Fridays to watch nature documentaries. He was teaching her the names of bridges. "My daddy says the Golden Gate is held up by tension," she told Maya one afternoon, with the authority of someone passing on important information. "He's right," Maya said. Zoe nodded, satisfied. She bit into a cracker. Then one morning, Zoe arrived with her hair in 2 braids. They were uneven, the left one thicker, the right one starting slightly too high, both tied with purple elastics that didn't quite match. Zoe walked through the cafeteria door with her chin up and her lunchbox swinging, and there was something in her expression, a particular kind of pride that had nothing to do with how the braids looked. "Quote 21, she said, sliding into her spot. Maya looked at the braids. She thought about the patience it took to try something you'd never been taught. She thought about standing at a bathroom mirror with a small person waiting, doing your best with hands that didn't yet know how. "Quote 22, Maya said. Zoe touched one braid carefully. "Quote 23, quote, she said. Quote 24, quote. That evening, Maya was washing dishes when Lily appeared beside her, paper and crayons spread on the kitchen table behind her, not looking up from her drawing. "Quote 25, she asked. The question landed quietly in the small kitchen. Maya set down the dish she was holding. "Quote 26, quote, she said. Lily was quiet for a moment. The crayon moved in slow circles. quote, 27, quote, 28, quote, another silence. The faucet dripped once. Outside, a car passed with its radio on, something with bass, then gone. Underscore, quote, underscore 29, underscore, Lily said finally. Maya dried her hands on the dish towel. She looked at her daughter, head bent over her drawing, completely certain of the thing she'd just said, the way children are certain of true things before the world teaches them to second guess. She looked at the drawing. 2 figures side by side, one with long black hair, one with short dark curls. Both of them holding something that looked like a frog. Maya folded the dish towel carefully and didn't say anything else. The school held its autumn bake sale on a Saturday morning in the gymnasium. Folding tables, paper tablecloths in orange and yellow, the smell of sugar and burnt coffee from the urn someone had set up by the bleachers. Maya had brought snickerdoodles. Lily had insisted on carrying the tin. Maya was arranging cookies on a paper plate when she heard Zoe's voice across the room. "Daddy, Daddy, that's her." She looked up. The man walking toward her was tall and dark-skinned, wearing a button-down shirt in deep navy, slightly too formal for a gymnasium bake sale, the collar crisp, the sleeves rolled to the elbow in what looked like a recent compromise. He was holding 2 cupcakes, one in each hand, and he was looking at the crowd the way Zoe looked at the cafeteria, like he was searching for a rule he hadn't been given. Zoe pulled him forward by 2 fingers. He stopped in front of Maya. He looked at her for a moment as though confirming something. Quote, 31, quote, he said. His voice was low, measured. Quote, 32, quote, Maya set down the paper plate. Quote, 33. He was quiet for a beat. Something moved across his face. Not quite a smile, not quite something else. Quote, 30. He said, quote, 35. Maya didn't know what to do with that. She picked the paper plate back up. "I'm Marcus," he said. "Maya." He nodded like he'd already known. Behind him, Zoe had found Lily by the cookie tin, and within 30 seconds, the 2 of them were in a corner, examining something on the floor with the focused energy of scientists. Marcus said, watching them. He shifted one cupcake to the same hand as the other. Maya watched the 2 girls. Lily was talking. Zoe was listening with her whole body, leaning slightly forward, the way she listened to everything, like information was something you had to catch before it disappeared. Maya said. Marcus said. Maya looked at him. He was still watching the girls, but there was something careful in the way he was standing. Shoulders slightly forward, like a person who had learned to take up less space than he actually occupied, Maya said. The gymnasium hummed around them. Kids running, a folding table wobbling, someone laughing too loud by the door. But in the small space between Maya and Marcus, the noise seemed further away than it was. Maya said. He turned to look at her. Something crossed his face then, unguarded, for just a second. He said simply. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. Marcus started volunteering on Wednesday mornings 3 weeks after the bake sale. He was helping with a structural project in the science room, something involving shelving brackets and a wall that had been pulling away from its anchor points for 2 years. He brought his own tools. He arrived before the first bell and was usually done before lunch. Maya found out from Darnell. Underscore, quote, underscore 51, underscore. Darnell said one Wednesday morning, appearing beside her with a mop and his usual expression of calm observation. He set a coffee on the counter without being asked. Maya said. He paused. Maya wrapped both hands around the coffee cup. Darnell said, already moving away, quote, underscore 57. He pushed the mop bucket around the corner and was gone. That same Wednesday, Marcus forgot Zoe's lunchbox. He appeared at the cafeteria entrance at 11:40, slightly out of breath, the frog lunchbox in one hand. Maya was on her break, sitting at the end of the serving counter with half a piece of cold toast and her cracked screen phone open to nothing in particular. He stopped when he saw her. "I can leave this at the office," he said. "I'll make sure she gets it," Maya said. He set the lunchbox on the counter. He looked at her toast. He looked at it for long enough that she noticed him noticing. "I'll be right back," he said. He left. He came back 8 minutes later with a breakfast sandwich from the place on the corner, egg, cheese, something that smelled like warm butter and black pepper, wrapped in foil, still hot. He set it in front of her without ceremony and picked up the lunchbox. "You don't have to," she started. "I know," he said, and he left. Maya sat with the sandwich for a moment. The foil was warm against her palms. The cafeteria smelled like industrial cleaner and the ghost of the morning's oatmeal. She unwrapped it slowly. It was the best breakfast sandwich she'd had in longer than she could calculate. That afternoon, Zoe slid into her usual spot and opened her lunchbox. She looked up at Maya with an expression of great seriousness. "My daddy said he brought my lunch today." "He did," Maya said. Zoe considered this. "Did he bring you something too?" Maya kept her face neutral. "He did." Zoe nodded slowly, the way she nodded when information confirmed something she'd already suspected. She unwrapped her sandwich. Then, without looking up, quote, 67, quote, 68, Maya said carefully. Quote 69. Zoe continued, quote 70. She bit into her sandwich. Quote 71. Maya looked at the table. She pressed her thumbnail against the edge of her tray. Outside in the hallway, she could hear Darnell's cartwheels on the linoleum, slow and steady, going nowhere fast. It was a Thursday afternoon after the last bell, when Marcus and Maya ended up in the school parking lot at the same time without planning to. He was loading a toolbox into the back of his car. She was waiting for Lily to come through the gate, her jacket pulled close against the October cold, the asphalt damp from an earlier drizzle. They nodded at each other the way people do when they've moved past introductions, but haven't quite named what comes next. Then Lily came through the gate holding Zoe's hand, and both girls stopped in front of their respective parents with the satisfied air of people who had arranged something. Lily asked. Maya said Maya looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Maya. Something passed between them that was almost amusement. Quote 76. Marcus said, crouching to Zoe's level, "Say goodbye." Zoe hugged Lily with her whole body. Lily hugged back just as hard. Then the girls separated with the clean efficiency of people who had no doubt they'd see each other again soon. The cars filled up and pulled out. The gate crowd thinned. Maya didn't move toward her bus stop. Marcus didn't get into his car. They talked for 22 minutes. Neither of them noticed the time passing. He told her about the bridge project he was working on across the city, a pedestrian overpass, the kind that had to carry weight without looking like it was trying. She told him about the fruit tray prep system she'd redesigned in September that saved 40 minutes every morning. He listened to the whole thing. "You engineered a logistics solution," he said. "I moved the apples closer to the door," she said. He smiled. It was the first full smile she'd seen from him, not the careful half expressions he wore at the bake sale, but something real and slightly startled, like it had arrived before he could decide whether to allow it. Then Zoe appeared at his elbow. She looked up at Maya with her usual careful expression. Quote 80, quote, she asked. Maya blinked. Quote 81. Quote 82. Zoe said it plainly, like a weather observation. Quote 3. The parking lot went very still. Marcus looked at his daughter. A muscle moved in his jaw. He picked up her backpack from the ground and held it out without a word. Zoe took it. She looked at Maya once more, steady, certain, and walked to the car. Marcus stood there for a moment. The cold air smelled like wet asphalt and distant exhaust. Quote, 84, quote, he said, quietly. Quote, 85, quote. Quote, 86, quote. Maya said. He looked at her then. Really looked. The way he hadn't allowed himself to at the bake sale or in the cafeteria doorway or any of the careful moments before this one. No, he said. She's usually not. He got in his car. Maya walked to her bus stop. The sky was going gray at the edges, the streetlights just beginning to flicker on, one by one, down the long, wet street. She thought about his smile the whole ride home. Marcus invited them on a Sunday. He texted the night before. Short, careful, the way he did everything. Zoe wants to cook for Lily, if you're free Sunday afternoon. No pressure either way. Maya read it, standing at the kitchen sink, the lavender soap smell rising from the water, Gerald throwing his thin evening shadow across the counter. She read it twice. Then she set the phone face down on the counter and finished the dishes. Lily found out at breakfast. Quote, 89. Quote, she asked, both hands around her oatmeal bowl. Quote, 90. Quote, Maya said. Quote, 91. Quote, Lily said with great confidence, and went back to her oatmeal. Maya looked at the jar on the refrigerator. $80 now. Lily's future, in 7-year-old handwriting. She thought about all the Sundays she and Lily had spent in this apartment. Good Sundays, quiet Sundays, Sundays that were enough. She thought about how carefully she had built enough, and how long it had taken, and what it cost every time enough turned out not to be. She picked up the phone. She typed, "We'd love to. What can I bring?" He replied in 4 minutes. "Just you." The house was in a neighborhood of wide sidewalks and old trees, the kind that had been there long enough to push up the concrete around their roots. Marcus's house was a 3-bedroom with a front porch and 2 chairs on it that looked like they were used. Maya noticed that immediately, not furniture for appearance, furniture for sitting. He opened the door before they knocked. Zoe pushed past him and grabbed Lily's hand without a word, and both girls disappeared down the hallway in a matter of seconds. Quote, 92, quote, Maya said. Quote, 93, quote, Marcus said. He stepped back to let her in. The house smelled like onions and something warm and deep. Tomatoes, pepper, something she couldn't name but recognized as care. The kitchen table had engineering drawings on it, pushed to one side to make room. On the refrigerator, held up by a single magnet, was a drawing in crayon, 4 figures, 2 tall, 2 small, all of them holding hands. No labels, just 4 figures, and a yellow sun in the corner. Maya stood in front of it for a moment. "Zoe made that last week," Marcus said from behind her. He was stirring something on the stove. "She wouldn't tell me who the people were." "Did you ask?" "She said I'd figure it out eventually." He tapped the spoon on the pot's edge. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, 98, underscore, underscore. Maya looked at the drawing a moment longer. 4 figures, 2 tall, 2 small. The yellow sun slightly off-center, the way children always drew suns, not where the sun actually was, but where it felt warmest. She turned away from the refrigerator and moved toward the counter. "Quote 99, she asked. "Quote 100, he said, nodding toward the dish rack. It was the most ordinary thing in the world. She picked up the dish towel. From down the hallway came the sound of Lily laughing at something, full and unself-conscious, the laugh she only used when she felt completely safe. Maya pressed the towel between her hands and steadied herself. Dinner was jala rice and fried plantains, and Lily ate 3 helpings and announced with complete sincerity that it was the best thing she had ever eaten in her entire life. Zoe asked. Lily considered this with genuine seriousness. She decided. Marcus caught Maya's eye across the table. She pressed her lips together to keep from laughing. After dinner, the girls migrated to the living room floor with a blanket and a nature documentary about ocean creatures, their voices dropping to murmurs, then to nothing. By 8 o'clock, they were both asleep. Lily on her back with one arm flung wide, Zoe curled on her side facing her, as though even in sleep she was keeping watch. Marcus and Maya were in the kitchen. He was washing dishes. She was drying them. The water ran warm, the dish soap smelled faintly of citrus, and the only sounds were the clink of plates and the occasional distant narrator voice from the documentary drifting down the hall. It was the most ordinary thing in the world. It felt like something she had forgotten she was allowed to have. Quote _ 103 _ Marcus said. He didn't stop washing. About the 4 years before this one. You don't have to, Maya said. I know. He set a bowl on the rack. There were 4 years I don't fully remember. Just shapes of days. Getting Zoe to school. Getting myself to work. Coming home. I kept the house perfect because it was the one thing I could control. He paused. I think I forgot that surviving and living aren't the same thing. Maya set down the dish she was drying. Lily's father left when she was 3 months old, she said quietly. I stopped being angry about it somewhere around year 2. After that, I just learned to set one plate and not feel it anymore. The water ran between them. And then, he said, and then a little girl sat down alone in my cafeteria. Maya picked up the dish again. And I remembered what it felt like to need someone to just show up. Marcus turned off the water. The kitchen went quiet. The refrigerator hummed. On the counter, the citrus dish soap smell lingered like something patient. I think Zoe chose you, he said. That first day, I think she walked into that cafeteria and found exactly who she was looking for. Maya set down the dish towel. Kids do that sometimes, she said quietly. They find the thing the adults are too afraid to go looking for. He turned to face her. Can I ask you something? Yes. That first day, when you walked over and sat down with her, were you doing it for her or for you? Maya looked at him. She thought about the bowl of apple slices, about counting 3 seconds, about a child's careful eyes measuring whether kindness came with conditions. Quote, 121, quote, she said. Quote, 122, quote. He didn't look away, neither did she. From the living room, the documentary narrator said something about deep water, about creatures that made their own light in the dark, about how they found each other in places where nothing else could see. Neither of them moved. Neither of them needed to. 3 months later, it was a Saturday morning, and the farmer's market was loud with the particular noise of people who had nowhere else they needed to be. The 4 of them moved through it slowly, Zoe and Lily ahead, fingers interlocked, stopping at every stall with the focused intensity of small scientists. Marcus and Maya walked behind them, close enough that their arms touched occasionally in the crowd. Neither of them moved away. The market smelled like damp earth and warm bread, and the sharp green of cut flowers. Lily was carrying a paper bag with both hands. Zoe was narrating something about a vegetable she couldn't name but was very suspicious of. Underscore, quote, underscore, 1, 2, 3, underscore, underscore. Zoe said, underscore, quote, underscore, 1, 2, 4, underscore, underscore. Marcus said, underscore, quote, underscore, 1, 2, 5, underscore, Zoe said, and moved on. Maya laughed. The sound surprised her slightly, full and unguarded, the kind she usually only let out at home. Marcus heard it and smiled at the sidewalk. They stopped at a flower stall near the end of the row. Buckets of sunflowers, bundles of dried lavender, small potted plants arranged along the edge of the table. Zoe stopped walking. She pointed. __126___, she said. In a small terracotta pot, a spider plant trailed its thin pale arms over the rim, reaching toward whatever light it could find. Marcus asked. Lily said, with the authority of someone settling a matter of record. Marcus looked at the plant. He looked at the woman running the stall. He bought it without negotiating the price, which was $4. He handed it to Zoe, who carried it immediately to Maya and held it up. Zoe said seriously. Maya took the small pot in both hands. The soil was cool and slightly damp. The plant's leaves were thin and green and reaching. She looked at it for a long moment. She looked at the two girls already moving toward the next stall, still holding hands, the paper bag swinging between them. She looked at Marcus. He was watching her with the expression she had come to recognize, the one that was still, carefully, learning how to let itself be seen. The one that had taken 4 years of shapes of days to get to this moment, on this sidewalk, in this ordinary light. "Thank you," she said. It meant more than the plant. "Thank you," he said back. It meant more than anything. Darnell, when Maya told him the following Wednesday, simply nodded and said, "I know, I've known since October." He handed her a coffee and walked away with his mop, satisfied. On the refrigerator in Maya's apartment, the jar labeled Lily's future still sat in its place. But beside it now was a new jar, unmarked, just beginning to fill. She hadn't decided what to write on it yet. She thought maybe she didn't need to. Some things didn't need a label to be real. Real family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one that gets built, slowly and carefully, from a bowl of apple slices, 2 uneven braids, and one small voice asking the only question that ever really mattered. "Can I sit with you?" Zoe walked into a cafeteria full of people and found the one person brave enough to ask the same question she was asking. Sometimes the smallest voice in the room is carrying the biggest truth, and sometimes all it takes to change 2 lives, or 4, is one little girl, a frog lunchbox, and 3 words. If this story stayed with you, please give it a like and subscribe. We share stories about ordinary people finding extraordinary things in the most unexpected places. And tell us in the comments. If you were Maya, would you have walked over? Or would you have watched from behind the